Hello there, YouTube patrons. This is Marco, and at the risk of sounding cliche, I really want to say from the bottom of my heart, it really flatters me that you guys have been willing to support this channel, not only with your viewership, but also now financially. It really means a lot to me. And as you know, as I said in my launch video, I plan on giving you guys access to behind-the-scenes painting process. So that means anything from screenshots to close-ups to tips and tricks and brush sets and also videos like this, which is I'm going to show you a quick slideshow process of a painting that I just completed a few hours ago, actually. So I started this sketch 2 days ago, so it took me about 3 days to complete, but I don't mean 3 full days though, of course. I mean like, 3 or 4 hours every day. So it's about a 10, 11 hour painting. And I saved process along the way because here's where I started. This is about 10 minutes in. And the reason I'm doing this video, the main reason I'm doing this is because I think there's this kind of thing that happens when we watch artists on YouTube or we watch teachers or demos, recorded demos. Typically, we only see the artist succeed and we never see failures. People don't like to share their failures for good reason. I mean, I don't. I don't really make a habit of sharing my failures or even things that kind of go awry and I have to pull back into correction, And that's because a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. And as a result, though, as a student learning painting, or even as a professional, sometimes it's daunting when you see people just succeed and you're like, oh man, they're just, batting home runs every time. Why can't I do that? But I want to show you that I struggle too. And just like anyone else, it's normal, it's human. Every artist has to search for things. And I wanted to show you the documentation of this painting to show you how kind of back and forth and manic the process can be. So you just saw the final. This is the final. And just looking at this, everything kind of makes sense. It's a working picture, at least I think it is. But I want to show you how wildly varied the process was and how, I almost quit on this and, I had to pull it back into existence just based on faith. So this was step one, about 10 minutes into the painting. And my initial idea, the thing that got me sketching was you guys probably know my green monster character. I wanted to have him sleeping in a tree. Okay, so I had this idea that was the incipient idea, monster sleeping in tree. So I drew this, this is 10 minutes in, like I said, so super rough. I got some colors laid in. It's obviously a field. There's the tree. And this green ball up here was the initial monster. And I noticed the composition is kind of squarish, horizontal, but fairly square. Just keep track of that as we go. So that's slide one. Let's go into slide two. So in slide two, it's flipped. I flip the painting all the time, so you'll see these things flip back and forth. But in slide two, we've got the monster. I thought maybe he could be yawning. So I've got the mouth just sketched in. By the way, I typically paint on one layer, so that means that any exploration I do is just on one layer. So if I have to if I want to remove things, I just have to paint over it, and I'll do that. What I didn't like about this is probably half hour in, and to be honest, at this stage, half hour in, I started to notice things that I really wasn't liking. And the main thing I wasn't liking is this whole right half of the composition seems to be unused. It's just dead space. There's nothing there. I could crop the painting and make it more vertical, yeah, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to keep it horizontal, but at the same time, I didn't want to waste the space. So I thought maybe these little specks of light, maybe this is dust, maybe he's just plopped into the tree like a pillow or something, releasing spores and, pollens, whatever these are. Maybe they're birds, I don't know. Just something to fill the compositional space, and the monster could be either yawning or is he happy, sad? I wasn't sure. And that was actually compounding with my compositional troubles. And I actually started to mildly despair here. And I tried many facial expressions for him, which I actually unfortunately didn't save. But I went through 8 or 9 monster sketches. None of them worked. Then I looked at the clock and it was way past bedtime. So I decided, hey, this is not really working. I'm just going to go to bed, but I am going to save the file and I'll come back tomorrow. And the very first thing I did the next morning was I put in that house and took out the monster. So I addressed the 2 main problems. And the addition of that house was a discovery because I thought, maybe the kid lives in this house and the monster sleeps outside because he's big, right? So that was cool. That was a discovery. I had no idea that I'd be putting that house there until the next day. Like I said, this is morning number 2. And you can see another thing I did, if you look back at number 2, the field is fairly bland, not a whole lot of stuff going on. in slide 3, there's a lot of noise in the grass in the like this wheat field. I thought maybe I could draw your eye with this path, kind of this S curvy path that can lead you through the composition. That was my idea behind that. And also I can play with texture. So you can really see like my early process. Again, this is all just on one layer. Extremely sketchy, extremely sketchy. There's nothing really here that's well painted or well drawn. It's just exploring ideas. I still have no idea if this painting's going to survive. I might delete it at any point, and I have deleted paintings, many paintings. But, you know, I definitely fight for pictures, and this is one of the ones I have to fight for. The tree has kind of a nice shape. I like this weird spheroid shape of the tree. That's kind of cool. You know, but now I have the problem of where does the monster go? So let's go to slide 4. This is just flipped. Doesn't look like there's too much happening here, but there actually is. If you look at the dimensions, this is back to slide 3. The dimensions, fairly square. Look at 4. It's much wider now. So if you go back to actually frame 1, very square. By the time we're at frame 4, it's very wide. So I'm playing with resolution. Not resolution, dimensions. Okay, so I also skewed the tree, I think, so it's just on the diagonal, kind of giving the frame this kind of overall kind of C curvy shape, maybe. Clean up the bit of the wheat fields, added a hay bale here, which you'll see where that evolves to later. Frame 5, completely different position of the monster. I still like the idea of the monster being in the tree, and I figured at this stage of the painting, I'm like 3 hours in. That monster's got to go in. Like he's the focal point. He has to be in the painting. Like I got to put him somewhere, but I didn't want to put him way up top like I had him back here. I didn't want to put him up there anymore because the wide frame, putting him up top like that, I just didn't feel like that was a good placement. Notice I'm using the word feel a lot. And you notice on YouTube, I don't really do that. This being a behind the scenes thing, this is an informal talk. I'm just talking off the top of my head here, not editing this. Obviously, you have to base your art on feel, right? But it's supported with fundamentals. Now, my YouTube lectures are where the fundamentals are really at play. I don't want to lecture my YouTube audience on feeling. But when I talk to you guys just informally, I have to feel that things are right. So I thought maybe putting the monster way over on the far right of this picture. Some of you may be familiar with the rule of thirds. Notice I'm breaking that. It's almost like on an 1/8 or even a 1/16. I thought maybe doing that would create some tension and really help actually draw the eye there. Because I don't want you to look at the house, really. I want you to look at the monster. Of course, the problem I'm facing now is there's 2 competing focal points on either side of the frame. There's the monster, which once I render him out more, he'll be very interesting. But also this house, which is very interesting. And I don't want that tension. That's bad tension, because you don't want the audience torn on where to look. So let's go to slide 6. Slide 6 was a major change, and this was the first time in maybe 5 or 6 hours in now. This is the first time where I'm like, oh, okay, I think this picture can work. I did a couple things. I blurred the house out. I literally used Photoshop's lens blur filter, and I made a quick selection here and feathered it out by like 30 pixels. Blurred out the house, and what that does is it softens that whole area. I also gave it a bit of a noise. The lens blur filter has a great noise algorithm built in, which I applied. You can see, if you zoom way in, you can see some of that digital noise, almost like film stock or something. So that was cool. And now I feel like that house is relegated to like second tier, and this monster, especially with this light and shadow blocked in a very interesting way, and reflected light coming up from the lawn here, I think that now I've got a satisfactory focal point. Also notice that the monster's no longer sleeping in the tree. He's actually exiting the tree. Remember back in frame 1, he was sleeping way up top. And then by frame 5, he was still kind of relaxing. Kind of undeterminate though. Then in frame 6, he's now stepping out of the tree. And this is where I had like my aha moment. The story clicked in. It's the morning, and he's getting up in the morning, and he's getting out of bed. His bed is the tree. He's getting out of bed, and this is how he rises in the morning. That once I had that, and this only happened like 6 or 7 hours in, maybe like 5 hours in, ish. I wasn't really keeping track. That's when I'm like, okay, that's the story. Now I know how to sell it. Like the story needed to be there, and sometimes I know the story very early on. Like don't get me wrong, I don't always go through this much exploration. Sometimes I go through more. Sometimes I go through less. This is like maybe a little above average in terms of how much change it goes through. Then in frame 7. Now like I said, I'm committed to the story. It's just a matter of bringing it to a finish. You notice in the bottom right, I've got a little kid character sketched in. I just wanted to see what that felt like compositionally. I didn't end up liking it, so I actually didn't. I got rid of it. I felt it was strong enough, just having the monster kind of emerging from his bed, which is the tree. Now you notice what I'm doing is I'm just figuring out what I need to do to finish the painting. So like the leaves of the tree are now starting to become important. Notice in frame 6, actually they were in here a little bit too, but in frame 5, the tree is extremely messy. Everything's very messy. This is like just pure composition here. In frame 6, I'm getting a few more tree shapes. In frame 7, a few more leaf shapes. Just trying to figure out, how I'm going to render things now. You notice the house. If I go back a few frames, the house over here, actually, where I blurred it out, I blurred out the house here. It looks like a digital blur. So in frame 7, I'm painting harder brushes back into the blurred house. If we zoom in, I mean, you can really see how dirty this brushwork is. But, I just try, it's that feel thing again. I just try and get brushwork until it looks interesting to me. So painting hard edges over the soft blur actually felt quite good. And I do that actually a lot in my stuff, hard versus soft. As you guys will see, episode 3 of 10 Minutes to Better Painting is all about brushwork and edge work. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. I was figuring out how to render the tree, how to render the monster, how to render the grass. All this stuff now needs to be just solved, finalized, brought into higher resolution. In frame 8, this is the second last frame that I have for you guys. In frame 8, again, I'm committed to the story. Notice the frame is extremely widescreen. Again, go back to frame 1. It's, pretty square. Go back to frame 8, very wide now. This is the final resolution. And just getting a clearer shape in the monster, basically doing design, character design, tree design. Not that this tree is finished. I spent another 3 hours just finishing the tree, and I'll show you the finished frame again. But you can see I'm playing with the idea of, how these leaves look. I actually didn't know how to render this tree. Like, you can render a tree in so many ways, right? I had to figure out how to do that. I like this idea of very large and graphic leaf shapes. Here where I live in Germany, the trees here have these really large leaves, and I'm very inspired by that, just what I see, because I paint outside all the time, and I wanted to get that feeling of really thick, big leaves. It's not quite here yet. In my head, it's there, but visually, it's not there. I just got to do some rendering, got to put on some music and render, which I don't like doing, but I like storytelling more. But once the storytelling phase is done, which it is here, I'm committed now to the idea. I believe that it's going to work. I like the composition. I like the dimensions, the aspect ratio of the picture. Now it's just a matter of bringing everything to a finish. And that finish, again, is here. Look at the vast difference in the tree. Again, I'll go back. This tree is completely unresolved, but I know where I want to go. And then here we go back to the finish. The leaves, individual leaves have been painted. And, I haven't, as of recording this, I have not yet completely signed off on this painting. I might just add minor touches here and there. Also notice the bales of hay. Remember back like in frame 3 or 4, I had that bale of hay. They became more of a prominent feature. I felt like they just added to the story of where, of who lives in this house. They're farmers or something. There are other animals here. I don't know. It just felt right it felt like a story element to me. So, and like Bob Ross says, every little bale of hay needs a friend. So there's, 6 or 7 of them in this picture. And I, resolved all the light on the monster. Fur is always difficult. And I want to make sure I spend a few hours away from this picture and then, look at it again, sign off, on the fur, how everything's rendered. And then I'll, do whatever. I'll throw it on my website, throw it on social media, whatever it is. But only you guys get to see this behind the scenes video. And that's, again, a thank you to you for your support, your early support. I honestly didn't expect this kind of response early. So thank you very much for surprising me. And I'm looking forward to launching my next YouTube video. I'm aiming for late next week. As I record this today, it's Thursday, Thursday, June 29th. I really, I'm hoping to release it maybe on Thursday, maybe Friday of next week. So look out for that. And just for the record, that is when everyone will be charged their first creation donation, let's say, whatever they're called. And that is also when I will reconcile everyone's rewards. Okay, so this video comes out now for you guys just to say early thank you. But everyone's rewards will be reconciled after I launch the video. And yeah, I'll be in touch shortly thereafter. So thank you again for supporting me, guys. And I hope you enjoyed this little behind the scenes video. I'll see you soon.